Stephen Curry had just left the arena after another Warriors win. While greeting fans and snapping photos, something unusual caught his eye. A familiar face in the crowd, standing still, smiling shyly. For a moment, Steph froze. That look, it was unforgettable. Jamal? He murmured, stunned. The man waved slowly, as if he too couldn't believe it. They hadn't seen each other since they were 12 when they played on that court back in North Carolina. Jamal had vanished without a word. Now, 2 decades later, he stood there, like a ghost from the past. Steph asked security to let him through. He walked toward Jamal, heart pounding with long-buried memories. When they hugged, they weren't grown men. They were kids, reunited after years of silence. After the hug, Stephen brought Jamal to a quiet area in the arena. They sat on a simple bench, like back in the day when they waited for their turn to play. The silence between them felt familiar, broken only by the distant sounds of the emptying arena. "I thought I'd never see you again," Steph said, still processing. Jamal smiled, eyes shadowed. "My mom got sick. We moved fast. Nothing went as planned." Stephen remembered the afternoons they shared snacks and dreamed of the NBA. Jamal had been the street star. Fast, creative, unpredictable, and then gone. "You chased the dream," Jamal said. "Me? I just tried to survive." Steph watched him, a heaviness in his chest. "But now you're here. We've got time to catch up." Jamal laughed, but something behind that smile remained unspoken. Something Steph would soon uncover. In the days that followed, Stephen invited Jamal to join him at practices, events, even at home. Their connection rekindled effortlessly, like no time had passed. One quiet night in Steph's backyard, he finally asked, "So tell me, what happened after you moved?" Jamal looked at the ground for a moment. "My dad left us. Mom couldn't handle it. She passed when I was 17. After that, it was just me in the streets." Steph felt a knot in his throat. "You deserve better." Jamal shrugged. "Life doesn't do replays. But you know what kept me going? Watching you play. It was like a part of me was out there winning." Steph was silent. He never imagined his success could bring hope to someone who'd meant so much. And for the first time, he wondered, maybe he needed Jamal too, to feel whole again. One morning, Steph arrived at the training center with an idea. After chatting with the coach and his team, he pulled Jamal aside. "There's this social project I support in Oakland. We work with underprivileged kids, using basketball to guide them. I want you to come with me." Jamal hesitated. "Me? Teach?" Steph smiled. "You've got the gift, Jamal, and the story to inspire." The next day, Jamal stepped into the community gym. One bounce of the ball, and the kids fell silent. He taught with passion and confidence, like he'd always belonged there. Steph watched from afar, proud. That long-lost friend was slowly finding not just his way, but a purpose. The community gym had become a refuge. Jamal found himself there more and more. What began as a visit at Steph's invitation had turned into a mission. He trained the kids with the urgency of someone who knew what was at stake. Not trophies, but futures. One day, after a session, a boy named Malik lingered, silent, dribbling the ball slowly. "You good, Malik?" Jamal asked. The boy hesitated. "Have you ever been scared to fail?" Jamal crouched down, met his eyes. "Every day. But you know what scares me more? Not trying." Malik nodded, and for the first time, he smiled. Steph, watching from the doorway, saw more than a sweet moment. He saw transformation. Jamal wasn't just a coach, he was a mirror, living proof that pain and purpose could walk side by side. The next week, the project was featured on local news. A reporter asked Steph what made the place so special. "It's where talent is born, and trauma starts to heal." And none of it would be possible without Jamal. He's the soul of all this. Steph and Jamal now shared more than training sessions. They shared a purpose. Sometimes they sat in the empty bleachers talking about life. Steph opened up about the pressures of fame. Jamal spoke of the darkest days, of losing his way, of fearing he'd never find it again. "You saved me, Steph," Jamal said one night. Steph shook his head. "No, you saved yourself. I just reminded you what you're made of." Soon, other players started visiting the project. Some well-known, some just willing to help. The seed had grown. What began as a small gesture had become a movement. But it wasn't always easy. The gym needed repairs. Equipment was scarce. Some days, frustration loomed large. On those days, Steph would remind them, if it were easy, it wouldn't change anyone. And so they pushed on. That season, Steph still lit up the court, but his greatest victory happened far from arenas. It was in the eyes of the kids, in Malik's smile, in Jamal's steady strength. On the final night of the year, they held an event at the gym. Kids, parents, volunteers, everyone was there. Steph took the mic. When we believe in each other, we create something bigger than basketball. We create family. Applause filled the air. So did tears. Then Jamal stepped up. His voice trembled, but didn't break. I thought I'd lost everything, but I found that when we give what little we have with love, we get back more than we ever dreamed. That night, with balls bouncing and hearts wide open, something lasting was born. 5 years had passed since that night at the gym. Steph was still playing, less minutes, more wisdom. He was no longer the rising star, but the veteran everyone listened to. On and off the court, his voice carried more weight than stats ever could. Jamal had become the heart of the project. He'd expanded to new neighborhoods, launched mentoring programs, and even gone back to school, psychology. He wanted to understand the wounds basketball helped to heal. Malik, the once shy kid, was now on a college scholarship. He played well, but his real strength was how he inspired others. He often said, "Trying matters more than winning." One evening, Steph was honored with an award for social impact in sports. He stepped onto the stage to a standing ovation. But when he reached the mic, he surprised everyone. "This award isn't mine," he said. "It belongs to everyone who believes sport can change lives. And there's someone here who represents that better than anyone I know." He called Jamal up. The crowd rose again. Jamal, holding back tears, thanked them. He told his story, raw and honest, about the mistakes, the darkness, and how one chance, just one, changed everything. "I thought I needed a fresh start, but what I really needed was to forgive myself, and someone who believed I could." After the event, they sat outside on a bench just like old times. "You changed my life, Steph." Steph smiled. "We changed each other, man." They sat in silence, but the kind of silence that says everything without needing words. The next morning, Steph visited the original gym. It was upgraded now. Fresh hoops, painted courts, murals on the walls. One showed a stylized image of Steph and Jamal from behind, watching a group of kids play. Above them, in bold letters, "Everyone deserves a second chance." Steph closed his eyes, took a deep breath. On that court, with voices echoing and dreams taking shape, he finally understood. The true legacy wasn't in trophies or records. It was here, invisible, alive in the hearts of those who were seen, believed in, and brave enough to try again. The game was ending, but the mission? That was only beginning.